Our guest this week is one of our dearest friends.
In fact, I think Paul and his amazing wife Nadine were my very first friends in the UK.
Yes, they were.
The two of you and Adele, I think,
yes.
were like some of the first people that we met when I moved to the UK.
They are based in Nottingham. Mm-hmm. His partner Nadine is behind Motherfudger.
Cookie Wizard! Maker of extreme confectionery, which I need to order even more of.
And is an actual confectionery magic user. And he is a relentless fountain of positivity and enthusiasm and just kick-ass analytical thought. Also jokes, and the best beard I've ever seen.
Yes. And yes, Forat, thank you very much for the reminder. 2 days left on Encore support. We'll do it again before
they're at 69%, which is nice. You know what's nicer? 99%.
Yes, exactly. So, shall we introduce our amazing guest?
We will.
Hang on.
I don't even know what that was. We will.
We will?
I, James Mason, will introduce our guest. Hello, guest.
Hello. Will the mystery guest please sign in? I mean, you were enjoying being a ghost in the machine earlier, so...
Hey!
Yes, but what are you going to sign?
Hey, he's not constrained by rules. He'll sign what he feels like.
Exactly.
Yes.
So.
Hey, buddy.
How are you? Doing okay?
It was Friday.
Today is Wednesday, and we saw you on Friday. Last Friday.
You
cannot hear Paul. No, they cannot hear you. Try again. What? Now we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I think so. I think it just did not...
1 second. We have a little bit of a lag on the chat, so they will come through any minute. Say something.
I don't know what.
We have sound.
Okay,
great.
We have sound.
Okay, thank
you.
There we go. Apologies for that, everybody.
It was not
all the gold. All the gold. That's it. That's the best.
It was all the best stuff was there, and it's gone. So good night, everyone.
Yeah, sorry.
So just a reminder to everybody, this is a live interview. Topics may come up without any warning. We have moderators to help us out with content warnings. There will be swearing because it's after 10 o'clock and it's us. But we don't have any other planned content warnings for this evening because we're going to talk about, instead of talking about any one specific book, I think we're going to talk about all the books.
All of them?
Well, you've talked about a damn near big chunk of them now, haven't you?
God. Yes.
So tell us about Eloquent Page and kind of like how it came about and what compels you.
Okay.
And it is perfectly legitimate to say if you're a book reviewer, sometimes publishers send you stuff for free and early because that's totally valid.
Okay, I'll give you the quick and dirty version of how it all started.
Okay.
You've mentioned my lovely other half, Nadine. She has many strings to her bow. She can do lots of stuff. She's literally including archery.
I was going to say literally including bows, right?
Yeah. So she does loads of things, and I kind of sit around in a corner, usually just making the house look dirty. Yeah. So about 12, 13 years ago, Nadine noticed that I spend a lot of my time holding books while I'm sat about in the corner doing nothing, and she said, you should do something with that. I'd already written a few bits and pieces on my own personal blog, which is just a whole kind of stream of consciousness thing. Mm-hmm. But she said, no, let's make it better. Let's make it look nice. She's got some web skills. She built me a website. Mm-hmm. I just tell people what I think about books. The key thing about the Eloquent Page is that I only write about books I enjoy. I don't have time to pick apart books and talk about the technicalities of writing. I'm not a writer. Yeah, I'm a fan. That's all I am at the end of the day.
And there's nothing wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no. It's a thing that I have a lot of respect for people that can do all that kind of critique. I'm a book enthusiast. I'm not a book reviewer. Yeah, I'm just I talk about the stuff that I love. I want to share it with people. I want to share it with the world.
You have so much love it cannot be contained within your corporeal form and must be expressed on the internet.
Yeah, and it just means that cut to 13 years later and I'm still doing it. I'm still waffling about books. Anybody that will listen, I'll talk to them about it. Yeah. And that's why I'm here.
Like many people, you contribute to our groaning TBR piles by recommending books that you love.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I like to think of myself as a kind of gateway drug to your next favorite author. Yeah. So I want you to I want to waffle about a book, and then for you to go, you know what, this guy knows what he's talking about. Let's see if he's right. And I'm a firm believer that there's no book out there that doesn't have an audience. Every book has an audience. I'm not always that audience, but I will talk about the books that I am the audience for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully I will share that enthusiasm, and it means that other people will discover books. I love discovering new books. That's my whole thing. That I love it. When I open a book and I read a sentence, I go, I get this person. They're brilliant, And it just keeps me going. It keeps me going through the dark times, like being locked down for 2 years. I just read more than I've ever read, I actually reviewed less because I was just reading more for the pleasure of reading.
Good.
But
Good.
I read a hell of a lot because that's what gets me through the tough times. Just that escape, yeah. God, I am waffling already like something.
No, this is brilliant. This is perfect.
This is
You're
the
doing
exact
a great
level
job.
of eloquence we have come to expect from you.
Tell everybody in the chat your favorite story about Paul.
If you knew nothing else about this man, know this. Nottingham Fantasy Con, I think in like 2015.
In a year that involves numbers, don't you?
Yeah. And one of the things that happens at FantasyCon is every year the 3.5 English publishers all go, oh, do you want copies of our books? We won't market them, but we'll give them to you for free. It's possible I'm venting a little bit there. But basically, as a volunteer, one of your first jobs is here are 30 boxes of books, open them, lay them out on a table, have people come in and fill their booths. And this is the UK, so, everyone is kind of, well, I can't have too much fun. I wouldn't want to enjoy myself entirely. So we're working away, and by we, I mean Marguerite's doing 15 things at once, and I'm being tall. And Paul, because he's local, is helping out and running the book table.
I think he kind of got press ganged. I don't think you were there to help volunteer.
No, I was a guest. I paid to be there.
Oh my God, dude.
Now I feel even worse about this.
Yeah.
But you were just sucked in by the black hole gravity of the free book table, and you couldn't escape its orbit.
So I'm walking past, and I see someone kind of looking through the free book table. They look up at our esteemed guest this week, and they go, how many can I have? And without missing a beat, he goes, the question you should be asking is how many can you carry?
Yes, that's true. I did say that, didn't I?
Yeah, and then we ran out of tote bags because we were handing away.
He did.
Hi, Nadine!
Folks, Nadine has entered the chat.
And he loved every minute of it. I'm sure he did. Yeah, so Mad Dad is Mrs. Cheesecake, the amazing Nadine, baker of all the cookies. And here I hope to good-naturedly heckle, which would be delightful.
No,
it is how it starts.
Don't encourage her.
I don't need to encourage her. I don't need to enable her. She's here. She's she's just going to have at it, which I appreciate.
Now we actually have you both here, just in slightly different forms. I'd love to confirm something, because one of the things that obviously with Nadine's incredible skills that has happened is that the cheesecakes have this incredible kitchen, which is laid out like an American diner, and it's
my
beautiful.
Envy. It's gigantic and amazing, and they've spent years on it, and it's wonderful.
You do have a reading nook built into the blueprints, don't you?
Yeah.
I do. Well, basically the idea was that Nadine, she's got a much better brain than I've got, and she she pictures stuff, and it's like, this is the way it's going to be, and that's the way it happens. And she planned out the kitchen, and it had everything in it that she wanted. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. I'm totally up for that. Can I have a corner for a chair? And that's what I've got. I've got a corner with a chair in it.
Well, I understand it used to be your chair, but now
it's not my chair anymore.
Ginger stray cat that got adopted.
Yeah, we adopted a cat, and he kind of lives in that chair now, so it's him. But I get to borrow it from time to time when he's not there, so that's quite nice. It's in front of the fireplace, so I can't really complain. No.
Can you share the chair at any time?
God, no, hell no. If I'm there first up, best dressed in this house, so whoever gets there first, it's their chair.
Whoever gets there first gets the chair, I see.
I
don't know it like that.
I just have this image of the cat heading out, looking back at you and going, I'm going to go shut in some begonias, keep the chair warm, be back in an hour.
Yeah, pretty much. And if I step and walk away from it, I turn around and the cat's back in the chair. So, I mean, he wins most of the time. I know where I fit in the hierarchy in our house, and it's
Right.
quite low down. But that's fine. I've made my peace with that. It's all good. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So tell us about Eloquent Page and
Okay. Well, first the name. Some of your viewers, listeners, readers, I don't know what
audience. I use audience because it's medium agnostic, so it doesn't require any one particular sense.
Okay, so some of your agnostic mediums.
A word good. Yeah.
But you'll probably recognise the name. If you've ever read any of Julian May's work, the Saga of the Exiles, I think it was, a long time ago. It's a whole thing about kind of prehistoric Earth, and then there's aliens, and it's a big cyclical thing. There's like 9 books. The whole point is, in the middle of it, there's a little man who owns a bookshop. Everybody else is super sexy and kind of has got superpowers and are mental geniuses and all that. He owns a bookshop. That's all he wants to do. He doesn't care about anybody else. He just wants to own a little bookshop and be left alone enough. And it's called The Eloquent Page. And I thought, fuck yeah, I'm having a bit of that. That's what I want.
What's the name of the 2 angels from Good Omens?
Aziraphale and Crowley.
So it sounds like Aziraphale and his little
bookshop. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. I if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would buy myself a little bookshop. I probably wouldn't even open it that often. I just have a little room.
Open by appointment only.
Yeah. I'd let people walk past and see me sat in the window reading, and I'd ignore them.
They just making them jealous as they go by.
Yeah, right? That's my dream. I'd love to just do that. That would be the best thing in the world. I love reading. I've done it. But I had a grandmother who kind of set me down that path when I was very, very young, and suggested lots of books that I probably shouldn't have read when I was very, very young.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, she was thinking she was a horror fan. So, I mean, my first love was always horror novels. And she, I think it was something like The Rats by James Herbert.
Oh, gosh.
And I was reading that when I was about 10 years old. And I probably shouldn't have been. But it kind of started me off in, Stephen King and all the kind of, all the big names, and got into Clive Barker. And then, it just kind of spiraled from there. And now I read anything I can get my hands on, anything, literally. I mean, I'm sat here at the moment. I can see about 20 or 30 books at various stages of open, lying about where I am.
Okay, so that's a kind of controversial viewpoint. You're somebody who likes to read multiple books at a time, or? Yeah,
I mean, well, the reason for that is because I got to a point, because I was reviewing for so long, I got to a point where it started to feel a bit like a chore, and I was worried that I was falling out of love with reading, and so what I've kind of done is I kind of, at one point, right near the very beginning, I was trying to do, I did 100+ books in a year, right?
Oof.
So it's like 2 books a week for the entirety of a year, and it burnt me out. My brain was like bleeding out my ears, So as things have evolved, and I've got to the stage now where I don't even post every week. I used to, but now it's maybe once every couple of weeks.
Mm.
And in between times, I read something that I want to read just for me. Yeah.
Okay.
And it means that when I go to a book that I'm going to review, I'm more into it. Yeah, because I've had that gap. Yeah, and so I'm not reading like 7 or 8 books. I may be reading a couple of books at any one time, and I'll kind of flip between them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading more non-fiction than I used to, which is weird because I'm not really a massive fan of non-fiction, but I've done a bit of that this year as well, just because, reasons that I'm not going to bore you with, but there's just stuff that I kind of wanted to try and understand, and so I've been reading some non-fiction, which is interesting. Just change of pace. Sorry, I'm keeping up, Marguerite. I know, sorry, it's fine. Do you want me to just stop? I know this is a bedtime story. So
No.
That reminds me, actually, on a totally unrelated note, I realised today, when I was walking up the road, I thought I should have got myself a wee Willy Winky costume so that I could have done the whole bedtime story dressed as wee Willy Winky.
And you're lucky I didn't bring the liquid smoke bottle out of the cupboard.
What? No. What? There's nothing.
Okay. We have to explain what this is about.
This is
in 20 minutes. That is at least 10 minutes faster than I was expecting. Buckle up, everyone.
what Marguerite's not telling you, my new friends, my new internet chums, is that she's American and she thinks that.
Yes, I've been hiding it under a bushel this whole time.
Yeah. She's American and she thinks liquid smoke is a thing. She doesn't appreciate that smoke can't be a liquid. It's just not possible. Science tells us this.
I'm going.
No, it's not. Look, it doesn't matter if you've mocked up a bottle of it. That doesn't make it real. Yeah. See, this is the lengths she'll go through, people. She'll go to these lengths just to pretend that it's the thing. I'm doing air quotes. That's how much I'm annoyed about it.
That's how much you're annoyed about the perfectly legitimate
It's not a perfectly
seasoning,
legitimate thing. It's a
which is
conspiracy.
liquid
You're a shill for liquid smoke.
I'm a shill. I work for Big Liquid Smoke. I'm a sellout.
Truth comes out now, doesn't it? Yeah. See, you thought this was all going to be nice, and now the conspiracies come real.
Oh my gosh, we got into this. So folks, this is a long-running, beloved joke between the two of us. What did I put?
Real, 100% real, not joke.
Mm-hmm. You want to show us a hat? Why Alasdair goes and gets my proof?
Which one? I've got many hats.
I know you have many beloved hats. It's in your photo and everything.
I'll put this one on.
Manx Dork cracks the case.
Dun dun dun!
Still not real thing.
Still real thing. Totally real thing. Totally real thing.
Oh, there you go. There's that. There we go. There's
nice.
That.
So there is your delegation of wizardly responsibilities head attire. What are we gonna call it? That isn't sorted.
I don't know. We don't mention her. That's fine. That's all we need to do.
Exactly. It is the hat of wizardly intent.
See, yes. I would absolutely be there for you just taking that role. Go stand over there. But I'm a heroic child. You're a goth with a fake mustache. Go stand with the snake kids.
You know, the problem is that I actually thought, when I was younger, I was all like, oh yeah, ranger, cleric, barbarian. Turns out, you get a middle age, you're a wizard. It just happens. You just become a wizard by default. I didn't try to become a wizard, but I just am. I just look like one. Look, I take the hat off, still look like a wizard.
You just kind of age into it.
Or is it the beard? Because it is a magnificent beard, sir.
It's got its own life now. It's got its own YouTube channel.
Really? No, I would watch your YouTube channel about your.
Do you know? I thought about starting. I just write my reviews. Yeah. Let's get back to the book thing.
Eventually, we've got all night, right? Yeah, don't rush. I can have some liquid smoke in the meantime.
Yeah. I just write my reviews, but I've always had kind of these grand ideas about doing something a bit more exciting, like this, like cameras and what have you. And I thought, I know what I could do. I could start videoing me reading my reviews dressed as a wizard. But then I realised how much effort is actually involved in getting a full wizard costume.
I mean,
and I got a staff, which I found in the back garden, which is basically a big stick. And I thought, that's a good start. But then I haven't got the cloak or anything like that yet, because I might get Nadine to make me one. She's got a sewing machine. She can make me a cloak. That would be good.
Yeah. That would make an excellent Christmas present,
Yeah. She made me a Doctor Who scarf once. It was awesome.
Nice.
I'm just desperately sorry I wasn't there for you running back into the house going, Nadine, I found a wizard stuff. Look, it's a big stick.
I've still got it. It's in the garden. I can't go and get it because the garden's miles away. It's in the other wing. Yeah, I mean, I've got it. It's good stuff. I'm slowly but surely putting together a wizard costume, and one day I may wear it online. And
it's not allowed in the house.
He says the wizard stuff is not allowed in the house.
But, see,
she says it's not allowed in the house.
It is quite big. I mean, there's no denying it, and it needs trimming. It needs.
Hello.
This is taking a dangerous turn, and I apologise.
If it is any consolation, sir, one of the people we saw in York over the weekend he's one of these unique humans who gets very good at something for about 2 months and then doesn't do it again.
So he has hyperfixation ADHD.
And he got really into this, I think, 1920s gentleman's form of CrossFit, briefly, called shovel glove. Shovel glove does exactly what you think it does.
I have to look this up. I'm sorry.
It involves gloves and a shovel. Shovel glove workout.
Shovel glove workout.
Take a sledgehammer and wrap an old sweater around it. This is your shovel glove. Every
Can't
weekday
be a
morning,
week.
set a timer for 14 minutes. Use the shovel glove to perform shoveling.
Oh my gosh. This.
Okay. He did this once in the living room. His wife went, "That is never entering the house again. Take it outside immediately." So it is not just you.
Do you know what? I feel his pain. I've been there. Nadine is very what's the word? She's very forgiving, but more often than not, she just
Patient?
tells me, yeah. Well, she just tells me to bugger off and shut up, which is not an unreasonable statement. You know, I mean, I have some strange ideas sometimes, and they don't always work. They never work. So it's not a massive surprise when things go horribly wrong.
What was that story once about she was on a vacation? We were convinced we were going to come home and find you in the backyard in your pants with a shed on fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I really I'm not. I don't know. I've got this kind of weird thing where I'm not great. I don't have a great spatial awareness. I mean, I'm not surprised that I'm not kind of over here while I'm doing this interview, right? Because I just anything that's not there just kind of confuses me. And so I bang into things. I've fallen down the stairs and broke my back. I mean, I randomly walk into weird situations. I ended up in a riot once, which was weird.
Accidentally.
Yeah. I walked out of a door and I was in the middle of a riot, and I turned around to go back to the place that I'd come from, and they'd locked the door. They'd locked the door and pulled in the shutter, and I couldn't get back in. So I had to kind of very casually walk through a riot wearing a suit, which is, you know, if you're in a riot, it's really not the outfit to wear. But you know, I managed it and didn't die, which was nice. You know, that's how it goes.
Oh my god.
This wasn't Glasgow, of course.
No, this was in London.
Really?
Glasgow's far more refined than that. God. How very dare you? I don't think I've ever seen a riot in Glasgow. I've seen lots of strange things in Glasgow, but never a riot.
I do remember you telling me how much you enjoyed playing Spot which burnt out car I'd walked past in the outside shots on Taggart that time.
Yeah. It's thing. But for those of you that don't know, you've probably already guessed. I'm from north of the border. I'm from Glasgow, or just outside Glasgow, and a lot of people are kind of terrified of the prospect of Glasgow, even thinking about it. I lived there until I was 25, and you know what? It just is. It just is what it is. There are nice bits. There are terrible bits. I've seen some terrible things. I've walked past pubs and seen people getting thrown out of windows, kind of Wild West style. But everybody just kind of goes, it's not my problem, and kind of wanders off. If you're not directly involved, it's all good. Yeah. So personally, I like it.
What's the strangest thing you've seen in your city?
The strangest thing I've seen.
Yep.
The strangest thing I seen was not in Glasgow. It was in Edinburgh, which is much more culturally diverse, as we all know.
Well,
and yet I was in Edinburgh for the Millennium. Some of the younger people. This is when the century, the old century, became the new century. Just in case you're unaware, if I talk about things like VCRs and videos and things like that, these are what happened before the internet.
I've missed you.
I'll explain as we go. So I was in Edinburgh for the Millennium, right? Long story short, I'm standing on the middle of Princes Street, the main kind of thoroughfare in the city. Me and 500,000 of my closest friends, because there were a lot of people there. And I look up and I see a man dancing naked on the top of a shop roof right in front of me. And I thought, that must be cold. Because remember, it's December.
In Edinburgh.
That's unusual. You don't see that every day. And I'm glad I didn't see it every day, because, you know, it was a bit much, especially from underneath as well. It's quite, you know, kind of, the view was, you can imagine. Or if you can, I can draw you a picture later on if you want. I can remember it quite vividly. See, I told you things were going to get weird. You asked me on here. This is your fault.
I know. I was in Disneyland for the Millennium, and we were packed like cattle waiting for the countdown. It was horrible. It sounds like you were also packed like cattle, but I didn't have to see any naked men in Disneyland on New Year's Eve.
I see naked men all the time. No, that doesn't sound right. When I go to other cities, I see naked people. No, that doesn't sound right either.
You're doing well. You're doing well.
Just keep digging, my friend. Just keep digging.
The last time I went to a convention, which I
Oh,
haven't been to for a
God!
long time. The last time I went to a convention that was outside of Nottingham was a long time ago. We went to Brighton, and it was great. There were people like Neil Gaiman there. Terry Pratchett was there, which was
was
lovely.
World Fantasy 2014.
2012, I think it was. 2012,
Yeah.
maybe? 2012. And that
The Zero event.
Yeah, it was. I enjoyed it. It was fun. We had a great time. Needham was there as well. It was lovely. It was Brighton's a nice place. I like it very much. But the week before we went, I'd been walking down the street, and I just happened to look up at a kind of building that people lived in, and I saw a naked man standing, looking out of his window. At all he surveyed. Like the king that he was, the prince among men. When I got to Brighton, opened our bedroom window curtains, looked out the window, and immediately saw another naked man in the kind of room opposite ours. There was a kind of
they're following.
I don't know, it's kind of weird kind of setup of it. Another naked man. So it was like within the space of a couple of days, I kept seeing naked men that were not me. It was most peculiar. That sort of thing happens to me all the time, and I don't know why. It's just very strange. I don't actually know why I'm telling this story anymore either. I had a point, and I don't know what it was.
I think the point is that it's, at some moment in the future, you will open the front door of your house, and a legion of naked men will be filling your driveway and the road behind it. They will they will take a knee in front of you and go, "My king," and you will just look around and go, "Splendid."
Dude. Well, let's draw a line under this. Suffice to say that if I was naked, it would look like I was wearing a jumper anyway. So let's just move on from that and talk about something book related, because this is getting weird. It has got weird. I'm uncomfortable. You're uncomfortable. We're all trying to be nice about it. It's just
it does give Flash Mob an all new meaning, doesn't it?
Oh God!
Oh, excellent. Well done, Stitch. Well done. Okay, how do we segue naked Flash Mobs onto book reviews?
Well, I mean, we've got one step down from this, which is I seem to remember that particular convention was also where Nadine did some spectacular cosplay, which I was very impressed by.
She did, yes. She did. She would, yes. And I seem to recall that. She was. It was very well. I know that Neil Gaiman was a fan of it.
Yeah.
So that's always a good thing, In fact, you know what? This moves me onto Twitter quite nicely, because my wife, who is listening to this right now, she keeps getting retweeted by Neil Gaiman. It's never happened to me once. I've never said anything interesting enough to get retweeted. He retweets her all the time. I don't know what it is. I don't know if there's a thing going on there. I don't know what the deal is, but it happens all the time. And frankly, I'm just annoyed about it now. It's just, initially I was impressed, then I was proud, now I'm annoyed. It's just
quite enough of that, thank you. We are feuding, Mr. Gaiman. Yes.
Yeah. That's just how I'm going to have to kind of slap him with a glove or something like that and demand satisfaction at some point. It's never going to happen.
Please, I want to watch that.
Okay, talk to me about books. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
These people don't want to hear me talking about naked men.
So you only review books you like. But you talked about how sometimes when you read a book with the intention of reviewing it, but how do you know if you like it or not yet?
100 pages.
Talk about that.
Yeah, talk about
it. You know what it is? It's this arbitrary rule. It's 100 pages. If a book hasn't captured my attention within 100 pages, I stop. And I don't do it often. I do try to persevere. I do try to pick books that I know I'm going to enjoy. I've got this weird fascination with the apocalypse, right? Or any apocalypse. Doesn't matter, whatever flavour it is. Doesn't matter. Zombies, asteroids, whatever you like. I've read a lot of apocalyptic fiction. Tons of it, right? Some of my favourite books are apocalyptic fiction. I still like reading them because they give me, in a weird, twisted way, they give me a sense of hope that maybe we'll...
I totally get that.
It doesn't matter the speed of a book. It doesn't matter if it's a slow burn. I'm cool with that. Slow burns are good. It's just as long as they get their hooks into me, that's the important thing. And sometimes books do that, and sometimes they don't. And if they don't, then I'm just not the audience. Doesn't mean it's a bad book. It's just not the book for me.
100
Yeah.
pages is so I approach this from a different perspective, and it's entirely based on the fact that I was a short fiction editor for a long time. So I was reading hundreds and hundreds of short stories. And
Yeah.
my rule was the first page. If there hasn't been something that's intrigued me or captured me, then it wasn't going to be for me. Now, granted, that's because I was reading for audio presentation and short fiction. But for the longest time after that, I had no buffer for novels. Like, if a novel wouldn't grab me in the first chapter, I couldn't finish it.
I think I was a bit more forgiving when I started out, because when I started out, what happened when I got into book reviewing, back when this was all nothing but fields and trees, book reviewing was a young man's game.
Back in the old days with Bob.
Back in the old days, it was all black and white. It was crazy. But when I started, I didn't have frankly, I didn't have the balls to contact publishers and ask for review copies of books. I'm still not great at that now, would you believe? But there's like things like NetGalley, which means I don't have to do that. I've got an account.
You can click a button and ask for it.
Don't need to interact with a human being. Awesome. But back in the days, it was kind of like small presses and self-published stuff that, people would actually say, look, do you want to read this? Right? And more often than not, I would say yes, because I wanted to read something. I wanted to review something. During that time, there was only a couple of instances where I think I got into a book, so heavily into a book, and then I got to a point where I went, whoa, no, something. There was one book, and I couldn't tell you its name now, so don't ask. But there was one book I remember reading, and I remember walking into the other room and saying to Nadine, I just can't read that anymore. And she could tell by the look on my face that I was just that mortally offended by what had happened. And I remember what happened in the book. I'm not going to tell you because it's genuinely offensive. It's just vile. But I literally couldn't even pick the book up anymore. I was like, no, that is burnt its bridges with me in every conceivable way. And it's the only time I had to email an author and go, look, I'm sorry, I can't review this. It was a horror novel, so it was trying to be outrageous and shocking and all that, but it just went, for me, it went that one step too far.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are other people that would have read it and gone, yeah, totally get what the author's trying to do. They're trying to shock. He shocked me to the point where I couldn't read anymore because I thought, no, I don't. This isn't a topic that I'm happy about. It's not. Ultimately, I read for enjoyment. There was no way I was going to get any enjoyment out of that.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the huge assets of reading, independently. You are not a reviewer for a major publication.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a publishing company.
You
get to set those lines for yourself.
That gets me quite nicely onto something I'm going to rant about.
Good.
Yes.
Excellent.
And I know this is probably I'm going to be all over the internet tomorrow. People are going, I can't believe he said that. You know what? I fucking hate book tours. I'm saying it now. I hate them. I hate being constrained by somebody else's time. I hate it. I like to write I've got a spreadsheet, loads of columns, lots of colours, lots of tabs and sorting, and it's like got 20 tabs in it now because I've got so many years worth of reviews on it. I hate being beholden to somebody else. If somebody says, you have to have a review done by this date, that puts so much pressure on me. And if Nadine's, she'll agree with me, it gets to the point where it weighs so heavy on me, I cannot cope with it. I've done it in the past, and the people the publishers I've dealt with have always been very gracious, and they've always been very nice, and I don't have a bad word to say about them. But the whole concept, it's too constrictive for me. I'm what's the best way to describe it? I'm a totally emotive reader. Yeah. I read when I want to. I read what I want to, and
you write what you want to write about it.
Yeah, and write what I want to write. Yeah, exactly. And to be able to be confined, if somebody says be part of this book tour, then I know I always write positive reviews, but it feels like I'm obliged to write a positive review at that point. Yeah. And I have tried in the past. There are a few, if you look for them hard enough, there are a few negative reviews on my website. But you know what? I very quickly realised that I felt so bad about it. I couldn't do that anymore. I was just like, no, I'd much rather just go, I'm sorry, I can't review your book than actually try to pick it apart and see why it was wrong. Yeah. Because this is somebody's work. Somebody spent, put their own blood, sweat, and tears into this. And it is, I'm loath to try and pick apart something that they've spent so much time doing. If I think it's bad, that doesn't mean that everybody else will think it's bad. I know I have read books for my own pleasure that have been reviewed up the wazoo, and everybody's going, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and I've gone, no, it's shit. But I'm not going to tell anybody it's shit, because that's just my opinion.
Well, that kind of gets to the heart of the idea of influencer culture and pay for review. The idea that having an opinion is more important than having an ethos of how you opine about things. And do you think that's definitely like one of the freedoms that you've talked about it kind of extensively here, but it is one of the freedoms that you have and you enjoy as an independent reviewer is, if I say no, then I say no, and I don't have to lose any sleep about it, and I don't have to worry about, making a deadline or...
I still feel... I'm fortunate enough that when I go onto NetGalley to get an electronic copy of a review, there are half a dozen publishers who have already auto-approved me to pick any of their books to review, right? I am so lucky that I have that luxury, right?
Well, you've also earned it, haven't you? It's a two-way street. You've developed a reputation as someone with integrity and with quality, and therefore they are taking as much of a gamble on you as you was taking on them. Do not downplay your skills here.
I'm just a waffler, though. I just talk.
But you're a very good, established, have been doing it for a long time with a good reputation waffler.
Maybe. My point is,
I'm trying to compliment you here.
No, I don't like that.
Exactly. Okay. So, how do you go about picking the books that you want to review? Are there certain things you look for? Are there certain topics you are always going to say, yes, I'll give that a try?
Let's call it, I'm like a magpie. I see something shiny and I go, ooh, that's it.
This would probably also explain your T-shirt collection as well, would it not?
Yes,
I'm going to Laputa and Castle in the Sky, a bit of Studio Ghibli there.
Very good choice.
I literally go with my gut. I really do.
So is Rubesco.
Yeah, I pick up. As I said, there are certain kind of subgenres of genre fiction that I'm always drawn to. I'm drawn to the end of the world. I don't know why. It's probably because I read all those horror novels as a young child. As I said, I find them weirdly life-affirming, strange but true. It gives me hope.
Horror is hopeful. I know.
Yeah, it is.
But it's I'll read a blurb and I'll go, that sounds interesting. What I've actively tried to do over the last few years as well is kind of expand my horizons a bit, because I realised that I was falling into the kind of trap of just sticking with, the big names and the same old. And I've actively tried to kind of, branch out and read authors that I've never read before, read people who are releasing their first books. And I tell you what, I've connected with some amazing fiction doing that. I'm reading at the moment, my next review is going to be Ithaca by Claire North. I love her work. It melts my brain. It's just incredible. She wrote a book called The End of the Day, which is about death. Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. Just the best thing I've ever read. It's just, I love it to bits. And I never would have tried her work if it hadn't been that something about some review or blurb on the back of some kind of NetGalley blurb just kind of went, yeah, this is for you. Try this. And I tried it, and I've read everything that she's written since, because it was just amazing. There are a few authors who I've read who, when I've read their work, it's felt like it's been an epiphany. I've just kind of gone, oh my God, I get this. I so get this. I might be getting it wrong, but for me, it means something. I've connected to something in their work, and I had I was fortunate enough to meet Claire North at some event or another a few years ago, and it was like being in the presence of a rock star as far as I was concerned. I was like going, oh my god, oh my god, when I realised who she was, because I didn't know what she looked like. So I'm standing talking to somebody, and they went, "Oh, this is Claire," and of course I didn't even didn't
You're like,
connect.
all right.
I could be anybody called Claire, and then she wandered off to go and speak to somebody else, and it was like, yeah, that's Claire North, by the way. And I was like, oh my god, oh god. And I was talking to her about assassins and trampolines.
Like you do.
That is absolutely the perfect Claire North conversation.
Yeah. It was most peculiar. But I've done that a lot. I'm crap in real life. I'm crap if I don't know you. Yeah, I don't know you. I tend to just kind of fade into the background. I become grey and just kind of like fuzzy and indistinct.
Part of the scenery.
Yeah, but I don't like being pushy. This is one of the things I like about electronic books and reviewing them. I don't need to speak to anybody because I feel embarrassed to go, can I have a copy of that book to read, please? And I'm worried that somebody's going to go, no, you can't. This is not for you. It's like the soup Nazi in Seinfeld. You're,
no soup for you.
No book for you. And I've got that kind of terrible kind of British reserve thing. Oh no, I don't want to offend anybody. Oh gosh, no, please. So I would actively go to conventions and not speak to people. Fortunately, Nadine is there, and she has to then deal with all the fallout of that and just kind of suffer all the nonsense.
I have some useful context for you on that. It wasn't World HorrorCon 2010. It was, I think, FantasyCon 2010, which was one of those conventions that happens quite regularly for you, where it's something that you can commute to. It was in Nottingham. It was in a terrible hotel that the organisation in question fetishizes for no reason I've ever understood. And because I didn't quite put my hand down fast enough, I was volunteered to do an author interview. I think it was with Peter F. Hamilton. It wasn't a great year for me. It was pre-Marguerite. And things weren't.
I'm an era.
An era. And things weren't fun, but I was making the best of it. And it was a really, really good interview. And one of the reasons why it was a really good interview was at one point I looked out across the audience and I saw you. And I thought, oh, Pablo's here. I'll be fine.
For the clarification of the chat, Paul's Twitter handle is Pablo Cheesecake, and so we still refer to him as Pablo all the time.
Yes.
And I'm trying to make myself be better about it.
Yeah. It wasn't even me that came up with that. It was Nadine that came up with that Twitter handle. I haven't had a sensible thought since about 1983.
It's going very well for you.
It's all smoke and mirrors as far as I'm concerned. I'm just winging it.
It really is imposter syndrome all the way down, Rebecca. You're absolutely right.
Most I remember as well, Claire North is responsible for the single most offhandedly badass comment I have ever heard someone say.
Mm-hmm.
I had the privilege of judging the Kitchies with her one year. And we were chatting away over lunch, and she mentioned that she studies, I think, eskrima, the Brazilian stick fighting art. And she said, I graded recently. And someone else said, oh, so, I mean, how are belts done in eskrima? Is it just like you do forms and stuff? And she looked this other person straight in the eyes and went, you know the corridor fight scene in Daredevil? Yeah? Yeah, it's basically that.
Oof.
For
folks who don't know, the Kitchies were. I don't believe they're running anymore.
Oh, no, they are.
They are still running?
Oh, yeah.
Good, excellent. Are an excellent British kind of independent book award. And they get their trophies are giant stuffed tentacles. You win like the inky tentacle
artisanal tentacles.
Or the golden tentacle and different things. They're very cool. They're very, very
nice.
Cool. So who is one of those authors for you? Those ones that you just click with? You've told us about Claire North. What's another author that gave you like an epiphanal?
Epiphanal.
Is that a word?
It is now.
Okay.
There's a series of books that I've never even reviewed because I read them before I started the Eloquent page.
Here you go, retro series.
The kind of it's a series, but it's 3 trilogies. The first 3 books are collectively known as The Age of Misrule by Mark Chadbourne. And I had a friend right in the very beginnings of Twitter, somebody recommended The Age of Misrule to me. And I went away and I read it. And from my perspective, it was life-changing because it made me start to think about things I hadn't thought about before. And we're talking about, I mean, I was what age am I now?
Don't do math.
Don't do that.
I'm hurtling towards 50 at a great rate of knots. I'm 48 this year, just 48. But I would have been probably mid-30s when I read that. And to read a book and for it to change the way you think about your existence is, at that age, is just like, you know? I mean, it literally blew my tiny mind. It's the one book or set of books I couldn't review because I don't have the language that would allow me to properly explain what it meant to me. Yeah, I have difficulty even putting that sentence together. There you go. That proves the point.
It was a book and it was really good and it's important and you should read it.
That would be it. Everybody should read this because I think it's great. Yeah, that's it. That's all there is to it.
I mean, you just put fancier words in there and you talk about the themes, and that's basically what reviewing is. Or it can be, and that's perfectly legitimate, right?
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I started to do a few years ago now is I've become like a book sommelier, and then I've started to pair my reviews with music because I personally speaking, I know there are people that prefer to read in absolute silence, like they're in a monastery. But I like to read while I'm listening to something. Right? Usually something without any lyrics, because lyrics distract me.
I'm with you there, 100%.
But something. So what I do now is I kind of end every review that I write now with a musical recommendation.
I love it.
That's so cool.
And I've been doing that for like 4 or 5 years now. And again, the great thing about this is I have discovered music that I never would have discovered. I read a book, what was it called? Rabbit? I can't even remember who wrote it now.
From the dude, the Black Tapes dude. The Black Tapes dude who is not Paul Bay.
Aaron Mankey? No, that's...
Cover is orange, has a rabbit on it. It's about a video game that breaks reality. Am I thinking of the same
Yes,
book?
that's the one, right? Okay, so the guy, this is terrible. I apologise to the author if he ever sees this, but I read the book and it mentions an album from the 1960s called Songs of Innocence by David Axelrod. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll listen to that while I'm reading the book. Tell you what, it is some mind-bending shit. It's like proper out there, kind of like 1960s, kind of like psychedelia. Yeah. And you know what? It's brilliant. I listen to it every day now. I listen to it once a day because it drives Nadine nuts. But I absolutely love it. It's just I never would have discovered that if I hadn't read the book. Yeah. So that's why I mention music every time I write a review, because I have to, because it's so intrinsic with the reading experience for me. I have to do it.
So fucking cool. I believe it's Rabbits by Terry Miles.
That's the one. That is the one. You're right. It's about a game that kind of breaks reality, and it's all kind of trippy shit, and there's lots of it. It's set in San Francisco. You'd appreciate it, Marguerite. It's right up your alley.
Yeah, it won't make me homesick at all.
Of course not.
Yeah. It kind of had the whole kind of Devs vibe. You know that show Devs?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of weird shit's going on. It was like that. In fact, it came out roughly about the same time that Devs was on as well, I think. That's probably. In fact, I might have even recommended listening to the Devs soundtrack while reading the book.
Nice.
I don't know. I'll have to check the review. I might have done. I don't know. But
I really love that you do that, because that is something almost no one else does, and it's something that speaks very strongly to my critical approach. And my critical approach is something which you help shape. You are one of a vanishingly small amount of people whose default response to stuff is engaged enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is a word with a terrible, terrible reputation, because everyone just assumes it means...
spell it? I don't know how to spell it.
It's difficult to spell. No one understands it. Fuck it, frankly. But your open-mindedness, your willingness to engage with stuff, and the simple fact that you review stuff you like, you review stuff that means something to you, marks you out in the field hugely. You're a unique voice, and when it came time for us to start putting the full lid together,
I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
You remain one of my compass points for that, because
a lot of critical work in this field focuses on clickbait and like how controversial of an opinion can I have to drive traffic. And it's really refreshing and comforting as people who turn their back on that to find other people who turn their back on that and say, no, I'm going to write for me and for my own enjoyment.
Do you know what? That is the thing. You've hit the nail right in the head. I ultimately started writing reviews for me, and that's what I still do. And see, if nobody looked at my reviews, right? If nobody did, you know what? I'd still write them, because there's a good chance that in 30 years from now, I'm going to be a dribbling vegetable and I can't remember anything. And so I want to go, have I read that book before? And then I can go back and go, oh yeah, I did. I read it in 2012, and this is what I thought. It's ultimately for me. The stuff I have stuff in my head. I read a review, read a book, and then I've got stuff in my head I have to get out. And if nobody looks at it, fine. I still have to get it out. I'm still going to have to write that review. And so, you can come with the journey with me if you want, but you don't have to. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I know that all I do is say that I like something. That's it. You don't have to agree. I have no problem with that. Go and find your own thing that you love. Just don't piss in anyone else's chips. That's it. That's the rule. Exactly. Just be nice. There you go. Wisdom from Roadhouse. Be nice. Be like Dalton. Be nice.
I am high-fiving you through the internet so hard right
now. There you go. I knew that Patrick Swayze would come up at some point or another.
I'm amazed it's taken this long, frankly. I really am.
One of the things I also really love is that you are pretty genre agnostic. You read fantasy, you read science fiction, you read horror, you read crime, you read thrillers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is there anything that you don't read that you're like, I really should start doing this, or you want to get into?
No, not really. No, I've read. I've read some absolutely cracking YA, though that strikes me as a weird thing. It's that young adult's not a genre, is it? It's just
it's a marketing category.
Yeah, you know what? I'd read anything. I genuinely read anything, because I've read some. A couple of years ago, I got really into historical fiction. I read a lot of historical fiction, which I hadn't done before. At the moment, I've just gone through all of, what's his name, Mick Herron's.
The Slow Horses books.
Slow Horses books. I've read all of them. I picked up the first one and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And of course, I'd seen the first season with Gary Oldman, and I was going, yeah, this is totally Gary Oldman farting in every second page. But I loved it.
And you're a big Le Carre fan, and you like spy espionage stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I think that life is too short to constrict yourself to one genre. Try anything. You don't know until you try. And there are books that I will never read again, but there are some books that I know I'm going to go back to over and over again, because it's like putting on a comfortable pair of slippers.
Yeah.
And there are ones from my youth that I think I always find a new shred of enjoyment when I revisit Douglas Adams. Yeah. I going back to like David Eddings' work, it's like meeting old friends. It's just and you don't even need to read the entire book. You can just kind of dip in and out, and you just go, yeah, I remember why I love this. Yeah?
I like this particular sequence, and it reminds me of this, and I want to read it again.
Absolutely, yeah. And the weird thing about it is, though, it's the only time it's been strange is I have I think a couple of times I've found books where they've been renamed and then reprinted, and I've got I've got to the kind of 100-page point, and I'm going, this sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah,
and it's not. It's the same book I've read it before. That's
new name, new author.
Yeah, and it's the same book, and that's.
So do you? There's a conversation going on in the chat right now about monetization, and how do you kind of balance the cost of if you're going to self-fund a hobby like reviewing and reading. I kind of want to riff on that. Is you talked about NetGalley and Goodreads, and do you think kind of this more concerted effort to move traditional publishing into what I'd call dual stream? So the fact that everything now gets a Kindle release, whereas before it used to be very much a strategic choice about whether or not a book would be released electronically. Do you think, being able to say, yes, I would like those 12 electrons, please. It doesn't cost you anything, publisher. Can I have it? Do you think that's made it easier for you to read a review in the way that you like to read and review?
NetGalley has made it easier for me, yes, because as I said, I've got this inherent shyness about asking if I can review a book. But as far as the Eloquent Page is concerned, I made a decision right at the very beginning. I think I've got an Amazon link on every review, and that's it. There's no other advertising or anything like that. Nadine and I, Nadine's got her business website, and we pay for this all off our own back. We do. I don't expect any. You know what? Being able to read a book is payment enough for me. That's it. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to read. The rest I don't care about. I'm it's
so that's what the bookshop is. You just want your reading terrarium so other people can read.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I could go full Bernard Black and just kind of like throw people out onto the street and just go, never darken my door again. I do like people sometimes, but in very small doses. There are very few people that can cope with me for more than about an hour, and then it gets annoying. Let's be honest. We're all thinking it. We are.
I have cheerfully been in your presence for multiple hours, and I would do so again.
And I hope to do so again shortly. I mean, by all means.
Wow. That was an hour. That was it. We just did it.
Yeah, we did. We have been talking for an hour. We can keep talking as well, but I can also totally do a wrap-up question if you want, which is, okay, what are you going to tell people that they need to go and read? Like, what's your current burning?
Before we do that,
all right.
I've been very well behaved, and I have not told any Pablo stories, but I feel that the one that must be told is when we lived in the same city, we were regular cinema buddies. And there was in particular a well-known Sandra Bullock, George Clooney movie involving an accident in space, which is extremely well put together and very good. And Pablo, like me, is someone who will find an element of a word that amuses him and just latch onto it.
And beat it to death.
And this is why, over a decade later, that particular movie is still referred to as Gravité in this household.
Gravité.
Gravity.
Can't say
Respect my authority.
Respect my authority. Gravity.
Yeah. You're not wrong. Yeah, I do it all the time. It's just it's a quirk. I've got these kind of weird things that just I kind of latch onto and I get obsessed with. And I don't know. That some things Nadine could tell you horrible stories about things that I just waffle about. She probably is in the chat right now, I'm sure. It just. Yeah, I get obsessed with things, and and I do the whole thing about earworms or certain jokes. Like, you know what? I'll give you an example. Watch The Orville, right? Great show, love it to bits, great fun. In a recent episode, one of the characters, Bortus's husband Clayton, was enthusing about Bortus's karaoke singing Elvis. And he was going, hooray, hooray! And I do that all the time, and it's driving me nuts.
Yes.
I bet you she's annoyed right now. She can hear me, and she'll be annoyed right now. But I can't help
one of the very, very...
Yes!
Yes! It's just the chat just reads, yes!
I am!
One of the very few things in that show that made me laugh harder than that was how beautifully they deployed this. I think it happens like 5 times across 3 seasons, where Bortus will go from, yes, I am very calm and very focused, to, you will be silent!
Yes. It's like the newsreader from Futurama,
Yes.
You're all going to die! I know the weather. Yeah, I love that.
So we have a couple of questions from the chat I'm going to go with.
Oh, go on then. Yes.
Do you have any advice for increasing how many books you read? I enjoy reading, but I find myself getting distracted or running out of steam easily.
Oh, that's an interesting. Yeah, I think you've got to find your rhythm. I think that when it comes to reading, as I said, for me it's music. Yeah, I can lose myself. I've got a full-time job. I've sadly got to pay the bills. So I can only read
capitalism?
Yeah, I know. So I can only read at certain times of the day. But what I do is I make a point of not being near a screen when I'm reading. I will just sit, find a comfy corner, get into my book, and just bit of music in the background. Doesn't need to be loud or anything like that, and just get in the zone. So if you can do that, I mean, for example, I read 100 pages during my lunch break today because of the book I'm currently reading, just because I had the music on. I was in the zone and I could focus. So I think a lot of it's to do with your mood as well. You've got to be in the right space to read. You're in the right kind of mental space as well.
Yeah.
But find where your comfort is. That's probably the best advice I could give you. Just find what's comfortable for you, and then you'll read better. If it's in bed, or if it's on the sofa, or if it's outside, if the weather's good, just find what's right for you. And yeah, I mean, once you've done that, you're all good. It'll be easier. I think it's easier once you can focus. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that as well. It's too easy for me to be like, read a chapter, check my phone. Read a chapter, check my phone.
I can't say if there's television on in the background or something like that. If there's any sort of additional visual stimuli, I can't read.
Yeah. We've had to get really creative about, if you watch the TV from there and I sit in this chair so my back is to the TV and I don't see it, then I can read my book. And
I couldn't do that. See, because I would still be able to hear. As I said, when I listen to music, it's almost always without any vocals, unless it's unless it's in a language that I don't know, in which case that's fine because it's not as distracting. But if there's somebody talking, or that's a distraction, I can't focus that way. But it's different for different people. Clearly, you can. But then you're very organized. You're hyper focused. I know what you're like, Marguerite.
Well,
we all know.
And we both wear headphones. It helps.
Yeah.
It's just, but for me, it's specifically the visual stimuli. Even if I am in a book with my headphones on and he's watching a movie or on the TV with his headphones on, there are lights flickering, and it's like, it distracts me.
That's it. Yeah, I am like a magpie. If there's anything shiny just in the periphery of my vision, I'm like, I can't help it. That's just the way I am. The way I'm built.
And I mean,
more questions.
And you've got very good at it. I mean, I think I successfully filled you in on season 3 of For All Mankind across 3 2-minute. What's that? What's going on? Moments.
I'm scrolling back through the Eloquent page to see if I find any things I want to jump out. Oh, there's Chloe's anthology, or collection.
Yes, that was very good. Yes. She's a maniac, but in a nice way.
I know.
I think that's up for an award as well. That's up for an award, isn't it?
Indeed. She's up for 3 BFA.
Yeah, totally deserved.
Newcomer, collection, and I think one of her stories is up as well. I can't remember.
Which is just
totally deserved. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna ask the chat if they have any other questions, and in the meantime, we should recommend a book to each other. Like,
recommend a book?
Yeah. Recommend a book for us, and then I'll recommend a book for you, which is another way of me saying, I'm obsessed with the book I'm currently reading, and I'm going to pitch it to you. So
you'd like me to do my book recommendation before yours?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You go first.
Okay. I would like to recommend the Fermi's Progress series by Chris Farnell. It is it's a spaceship Planet of the Week novella series about humanity's first interstellar spacecraft, which, and this is the tiniest of spoilers, the first time its engine is turned on, annihilates the solar system. This is the one we're in, so it gets a bit awkward.
These are the Fermi's Progress.
Fermi's Progress. And this is the gimmick. There are 4 in the first season. Each time they rock up at a new culture and have to work out how to do the run. And it sounds super, super grim. It is, in
Planet
fact,
of the Apiaries.
Frequently hilarious. I mean, if I tell you the titles are Descartes-Mageddon, Planet of the Apiaries, Dyson Sphere, and The Phone Job, you will have a good idea of it. Also, very quickly, the crew work out a means of naming the aliens they're talking to after things they will recognize. So the Phone Job features a race of faintly equine aliens who are also running basically running Space Amazon. And the 2 principal NPCs in it have names that translate as Applejack and Shadowfax.
Horses, nice.
So it's Fermi's Progress. It's a really good time. Chris is working on another season of it now, I believe. And definitely worth it.
I have read the first one. At the Dyson Sphere, I think. It was
Dyson
very
Sphere,
good.
yeah.
I read that. Yeah. Marguerite, have you got a recommendation?
Yes, I do. I'm just getting a link. So I am currently absorbing Meg
Fire
Ellison's
osmosis.
new book called Number One Fan, which is a horror thriller, which I'm going to try and put in the chat right here, hopefully without all the annoying extra linky thingies. If you've ever been to Worldcon, it will be an uncomfortable read because you will recognize inside elements of the genre fiction community in the story. It's somewhat a riff on Stephen King's Misery. It's the idea of obsession and what fans will get and do that's too far. And it is wonderful and horrible, and I just want to go finish reading it right now. It's very good. And it just came out like 2 days ago.
What's your recommendation?
What's my recommendation? Oh gosh, I could rhyme off a million books. I am, as I said earlier on, I'm currently reading Ithaca by Claire North. That's out next week. It's a retelling of the Odysseus myth, but from the perspective of Penelope on Ithaca. So it's much more interesting than men going about and just stabbing one another with swords. It's actually kind of like what's going on in the real world and how men being away from a decade in a war affects everybody and how bad it is. It's the great thing about it is it's narrated by the goddess Hera. So it's got a kind of kind of mythological thing going on. It's brilliant. I'm loving every word of it. The other thing I would recommend that I read recently is a book called Dead Water by C.A. Fletcher, which is creepy in a kind of nice. Do you remember the? You might know. You won't know this, Marguerite, because this is from the 1970s in Britain. There was a safety film called. Oh, what was it called? Something like Dead Water. It was about.
Oh, people, fuck you!
Yeah, it was creepy as hell, wasn't it? It was about children drowning.
Horrible, you told me about this
with the Grim Reaper, and he's just collecting souls on. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, this book has got. It's about water. It's got that same sort of creepy vibe. It's the rest of it's entirely different, but it's got that kind of weird, unsettling kind of like this is not right. Something's inherently wrong here. I read that recently. That freaked me out. That's a good thing. So read that if you can get it. That's a good book. Very, very much enjoyed that. That was very good.
Ithaca was really good, and I haven't read much Claire North.
Claire is one of those.
The end of the day. The end of the day is the best thing. It's so good. It's about a guy that goes around and kind of. It's all about death, but in a most life-affirming way. It really is. It's brilliant. I've loved all the stuff that she's done, but the end of the day is just there's something bittersweet and beautiful about it. You know what? You know the episode The Sandman, episode 6. You know the one.
Yeah.
You know the one with death in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
We talked about it the other day. It's sad but beautiful, but angry, but all the emotions in the world. The end of the day is like that. It gives off exactly the same vibe. It's just there's a lot going on there, and yeah, I love that. I love that book. I could reread that. See, if I had to just read one book over and over again every day, it'd be that book.
See, we should have asked Desert Island Books, right? For sure.
Oh God, it would have taken me. We would have had to organise this for like this time next year, just so I could come up with a short enough list.
No, see, I would just cheat and say anything I can put on my Kindle. Thank you. I will take them all.
No. This is where I'm going to have to disagree. If you're on a desert island, you're not going to want a Kindle. It's going to go flat. So we're talking physical books. We've got to have the tactile experience of reading. Much as I love my Kindle, and I do, tactile experience.
I tend not to drop my Kindle on my face while I'm reading in bed.
Oh, I do. I drop my Kindle on my face all the time. Nadine can vouch for that. There'll be a yes in the chat in a minute. Just wait. It'll happen. You do it. I fall asleep like this. Nah. That's when I know I've got to go to bed.
And there it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nadine.
Yeah. This is it. She's just going to agree with every time I say something that embarrasses me, she'll just say yes because it's true. It is. It's that simple.
We're all just waiting now.
Right.
The list will be too long. There's too many things. I've embarrassed myself in so many different ways over the years. It'll take her forever to compile a list. It'll be quicker to do what hasn't he done to embarrass himself. That'll be a couple of things. Yeah.
You can use that as a checklist.
You're tall like me. You have the tall shelves thing going on.
That's about it. But no, she's got a stepladder now. So that's it. I'm thinking I'm persona non grata. I'm surplus to requirements.
Oh no.
Yeah. Sad but true.
This has been absolutely delightful. Thank you so much for coming on the waffle with us.
I'm glad I could be delightful for a whole hour and 16 minutes. It's a new
You've
record.
only shown us 2 hats, though. I mean,
shall I show you some more hats before I go?
There we go.
Let's do hats.
So that we've got Peaky Blinders. Nice.
That's a very nice one.
I still think he should put it on backwards, and then he can put a pin.
I'm not. Peaky Blinders don't put it. This is the one. This is my work hat. This is genuinely my work hat. I'll wear this when I'm working. I don't know why, but I just like doing that, and I don't know why. It's just I go to meetings with this hat on.
It makes you feel focused. That's all that matters, right? Yeah. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that.
And then this is the hat that I got today. This is my gardening hat. People are going, he gardens. I don't garden. I sit and watch Nadine garden and just
carry heavy things.
Reap the rewards. That's my gardening hat that I got today, which is a bit tight, but
that is absolutely superb. Also, I'm very heartened that you are continuing the day job vibes that you had when we briefly worked in the same building. That is such a good hat, Pablo. Oh my god.
It's like Rasta Santa. I like it.
I was very briefly a receptionist at the Nottingham University building that Paul works in.
It was a week. He was there a week, people. A week.
I was there 6.
Sorry.
I was there 6 I just had to have.
Sorry. Okay, it was all my fault, folks. So Alasdair started this job. He got a weekend, and then I got my training contract in London, so we had to move. So he finished his orientation and had to put in his notice at the same time. It was so embarrassing.
But I have never ever forgotten you showing me around. Your then boss showing me around the building, and the IT department being full of people doing kind of important computer stuff and all at the same style desk, and yours was twice the size, and you had 2 monitors.
Yeah.
And even before I knew it was your desk, I was like, Paul sits there.
Yeah. That was back in the days when 2 monitors wasn't even a thing.
I know.
Everybody's got 2 monitors now. Yeah.
I only have 1 monitor, but it's about 12 feet wide and it
well, there you go. I've got 2 monitors. But back in this was
one for each of you.
This was years ago, wasn't it? It
was
a long time ago. Yeah. It was a long time ago. But yes, he only lasted a week. Don't let him tell you otherwise. He was rubbish. It was like, go away and do something proper with your time, some journalism or something, and so he did.
I did.
Yeah, true. That's what happened. I've run out of steam now. I think the coffee's
I was going to say it's getting late and you're running out of steam, so we should wrap this up. Yeah. Let me see. I will put the delightful notes in the chat about where you can find the Eloquent page and follow Paul on Twitter.
And that as well.
In advance. Yeah.
I apologize in advance. Why do you say that about your own social media? It's usually full of pictures of excellent t-shirts.
Yes.
To be honest.
Yeah, that's true.
And new hats.
New hats, excellent t-shirts.
Yeah, there'll be more hats. I can guarantee it. I've got more hats downstairs. No, I don't have time to go get them. It's fine.
And cats.
And cats.
I always like the cat pictures, especially.
Yes, the cat pictures are important. Yes, they are our family.
We all know the internet loves cats. The internet runs on cats. I mean, that's why we now have an entire cat-themed podcast.
Yes, indeed.
Nice.
Thank you so much, dude.
Thank you very much.
I just pretend it was frozen.
I mean, you could if you want to, but you look like a Bigfoot photo at that point.
I didn't come here to be insulted.
Liquid smoke!
It's not a thing.
It's just your pose that you sound like that. All right, folks in the chat, we are going to take a quick break here to say goodnight to Paul. And then when we come back, we will do even more shenanigans because that's just kind of the day that we're having here. So go and get a stretch and a drink of water and all that good stuff.
Bye, Internet. Bye. Love you.
And we will be back.
Miss me already. Bye.
Thanks, everybody.